code 33975 versus 33975 with 33404. This one I had prepared for last month, so this is a carryover. So the question is, on a recent practice exam I took in preparation for the CPC exam, patient undergoes construction of apical-aortic conduit with an insertion of a single ventricular assist device. The four options are, so we have A, 33404, which is construction of apical-aortic conduit. B, 33975, insertion of ventricular assist device. C, 33977, removal of ventricular assist device. And D, both the 975 and 404. In hindsight, I should have made this a poll, sorry. Okay, so let's go to what my answer was. By the way, these answer sheets that Alicia and I do with our research and everything on it, they are, if you're a member of the replay club, which is $10 a month, you get a full replay of this entire webinar that you can listen into one chunk, or you can listen to the different segments. You can get it as a podcast in your iTunes, but what you also get is PDF versions of all of these answer sheets and a full transcript, word for word transcript. So it's definitely a good value, and you can go back in the member area and just pick whatever topic you want to listen to. So you know, you can either take notes or pay the $10 a month, and when you first enroll, you get access to all the past ones as well, and you can cancel at any time. Okay, so the answer is the 33975, and just to review the ABCD answers here, so it was answer B. And the person went on to say, why is 33404 not reported as a secondary code? So this is how you would do research. And you know, once you get certified and all of that's over, being a good coder is being resourceful. You know, you can look up anything, you can figure out anything, and that's a big part of what I try and teach people is, you know, how to do it themselves. So what I did is I looked up the codes, I used my supercoder encoder and just popped in those codes, and we can see them here. So here's the apical-aortic conduit, here's the insertion, and here's the removal code, and the 33400 valvuloplasty. Okay, so the question is about bundling the 33404. Why is that not reported as well? So if you're ever unsure if one code is bundled into another, you need to use some sort of CCI edit checker. You can go to the CMS website, they've got one there. It's a little bit kludgy, but hey, it's free, it works. Or your encoder like supercoder should have it built in, which let's see if that will take us there. I think I'm logged in. They have a free trial that you can do. I am logged in. Okay, so I'm going to go to Coding Tools. Here's that CCI Edits checker. Okay, so this is what I used. I popped in, you know, one code at a time, comma separated, multi-code box, and this is what it gave me. It said, sure enough, 33404 is part and parcel of 33975. So we should only report the 33975. And this is what it looks like. You get this big red box, and it says code 33404 is a column 2 code for 33975. These codes cannot be built together in any circumstance, and that it's bundled. Okay, so in the CCI edit, they're in tables in these code pairs. So you'll have what I call the parent code, and then all the baby codes that are a part of it. So 33975 is like a parent code, and 33404 is a baby code. They have a superscript. If it's a 0, which this one is, it means there's nothing. There's no modifier, nothing. You can't build the two of them together, period, the end. If there's a 1, then that means you can, under certain circumstances, if your documentation proves or warrants, that you can go ahead and build both. And normally that modifier is modifier 59. So in this case, it is considered bundled. Okay, so for the most part, or I shouldn't say for the most part, but oftentimes we can tell if something's bundled. Like we know a laparotomy is bundled into any internal abdominal surgery, like removing of ovaries, an oophorectomy. You got to get to the ovary to remove it. So if it's an open surgery to remove that ovary, the laparotomy is bundled into it. So you will see in the CCI edits one code for an oophorectomy, and one of the baby codes is a laparotomy. However, there are circumstances like, and I actually had this procedure done, where I had the oophorectomy done and then something happened. I was bleeding internally and they had to bring me back to the OR and open me up a second time. So I actually had 2 laparotomies, and therefore they did put a laparotomy code, but they had to use modifier 59 to say that it was separate from the other one. Okay, so that would have a superscript of 1 allowing me to do it, whereas this one had a 0. So hopefully that helps with that question. Okay, let me see if I have this poll. Which coding organization do you belong to? And this one, actually, you can check more than one. At least that's the way I set it up. I hope I did it right. So are you, do you belong to AAPC, AHEMA, PACS, something else? And if you belong to something else, put it in the chat and then I'll try and add that to the next time of our list here. So the votes are coming in. We're up to 62, 66, 67. I like doing these polls. It keeps you guys on your toes. All right, I'm going to close this in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Okay, share results. Boyd, are you proud of me? I'm figuring it out. Okay, so 76% are with AAPC, 28% with AHEMA, 1% with PACS, and 10% with other. All right, so we'll have to find out what other is. So if you can get in the chats, let us know what the other organization is, and hope maybe Sylvia can make a note of that, and we'll include this next time. Come on, mouse, cooperate. There we go.
Oh, I had muted myself.
Did I just answer? Oh, you took that
Yeah.
one slide out. Okay. All right, so this next slide is also mine. Drug abuse versus drug dependence. Luna asks, hey Luna, what kind of terminology might you find in a patient's record that would indicate abuse versus dependence? So I had to do my little Google research. And for those that this is the first time on the call, the ongoing joke out there, especially in Facebook land, is that, I always say, Google it. And my niece told me that, she goes, that's why you're going to raise your kids, aren't you? You're going to tell them Google it first. Yep. And it's amazing what you can find. So don't be afraid to use Google for medical coding research. Just type it in and you'll be amazed at what you'll find. And that's how I found this. I'll go down to the footnotes so you can see where this came from first. It came from the American Psychiatric Association Diagnostic and Statistical Manual of Mental Disorders, DSM-4. That's an official manual that's used. We don't code from it, but it gives us the definitions that we do use for coding. And before I go on, I just want to say, as far as, what indicates abuse versus dependence, the physician should really be documenting one of those 2 words. You shouldn't necessarily, you shouldn't have to piece it together, but to understand, what's behind the difference. Here we go. Substance abuse is defined as maladaptive pattern of substance use leading to clinically significant impairment or distress. Now that's pretty much the same for abuse versus dependence. Now here's where the differences come. They're going to have one or more of the following occurring within a 12-month period. Recurrent substance use resulting in a failure to fulfill major role obligations at work, school, or home. The second bullet, recurrent substance use in situations in which it is physically hazardous. Recurrent substance-related legal problems. Continued substance use despite having persistent or recurrent social or interpersonal problems. And they have a note here that the symptoms for abuse have never met the criteria for dependence. So if they've ever met the criteria for dependence, then that's what you should use. Now, according to this DSM-4, a person can be abusing a substance or dependent on a substance, but not both at the same time. And that makes sense. So here's the definition for dependence. So everything was the same, and they're going to have 3 or more of the following. Tolerance, as defined by either of the following: a need for markedly increased amounts of the substance to achieve intoxication or the desired result. Withdrawal, they would go through with withdrawal if the substance was removed. The next bullet, the substance is often taken in larger amounts or over a longer period than intended. There is a persistent desire or unsuccessful efforts to cut down or control it. And then a great deal of time is spent in activities necessary to obtain the substance, use it, or recover from it. Important social, occupational, or recreational activities are given up or reduced because of it. And the substance use is continued despite knowledge of having a persistent physical or psychological problem, like cocaine use, having that cocaine-induced depression, or liver problems. So that is the difference officially between abuse and dependence. So dependence, 3 or more of those bullets, and the abuse was 1 or more of these bullets. Okay, so this will be on the answer sheet, but again, if you just Google substance abuse versus dependence, you will find pages like this. And again, coding-wise, we really want the physician to tell us, is it, drug abuse or drug dependence.
Get more CPC exam tips, coding certification training, and CEU credits. Go to www.codingcertification.org.